What's going on, Rob Mob, coming at you with another video. This is a sheet that we went over in intervention, but it has some really good problems on it that I think we should pay attention to, specifically about making corrections and making sure that we are double checking our work when we solve problems. Great. So here we have a problem listed out, and then that problem is dissected slowly, and then we are given an answer at the bottom. But we are told that this solution is incorrect, so we have to go through these problems and we have to find out why they are incorrect. Now, the first thing I'm going to do for this problem is I'm going to separate my last column over here, and I'm going to include a little bit of extra space for checking my answer at the end of my problem. And if you don't understand what that is at the moment, that will make sense once we get started with these problems. Great. So for the first problem, we have negative 2 times 8m plus 8 equals negative 16. Great. So we know our first step, what they do as their first step is distribute this negative 2. So we have negative 2 times 8m and then negative 2 times 8. As we've mentioned before in the past, for us, even for adults, it is much easier for us to visualize these arrows when we are distributing. It makes it a little easier to pay attention to your work so you know exactly what you are doing. Here we have a negative 2 times 8m, that is going to be negative 16m. And then we have a negative 2 times a positive 8 over here, and that should be a negative times a positive, which should be a negative. So we know that this plus 16 is our issue here. It's supposed to be a minus 16, which means this is supposed to be a plus 16. So we know this is negative and this is supposed to be a plus, and that is going to change our answer, and there's our mistake. So an explanation of what error was made, it was a problem with distribution. Distributing the negative 2 to 8. That is our issue. Great. So how do we find the correct solution? Let's just go through the problem. I will rewrite it for us right here. Equals negative 16. Great. Now let's distribute the correct way. So we have a negative 2 times an 8m, and that is going to be negative 16m. And then we have a negative 2 times a positive 8, and that should be a negative 16 equals negative 16. Great. So our next step, let's just follow through, plus 16 on both sides, that'll cancel out. And in this case, this will also cancel out. So what we're left with is a 16m equals negative 16 plus 16, again, we know is going to be 0. So now this is an easy solve. We can divide both sides by a negative 16. Negative 16. And what we're going to get is m equals 0. Now for this second section, how I split up my column, it is a little easier for me to check my work by just popping my answer back into my equation. And this should be a very simple way to check all of your work in the future. So here's my original problem. Now I have negative 2, 8 times 0 plus 8 equals negative 16. Great, here's my step incorporating my 0 in for m. So let's continue with the solving. I'm going to finish this parentheses first, following PEMDAS. 8 times 0 is going to be 0 plus 8 equals negative 16. And again, I'm breaking up these steps. Maybe some of you guys did this step in your head on your own. That's okay, but I like to break the steps down so I know exactly what I am doing. So I have 0 plus 8. That is going to be 8. So negative 2 times a positive 8 is going to equal negative 16, and negative 2 times positive 8 is negative 16 equals 16, so this works. Great, on to the next problem. Now we're going to go right through again. 5 times 5 plus 4h plus 2h equals 27. Here we distributed, we have the 5 times 1 and the 5 times 4h. That is my 5 and my 20h right here, that works. Plus 2h, which is right here, equals 27, all again very straightforward. Now here, this step is a little bit confusing. So we have a 20h plus 2h, which is going to be 22h, but he adds, or he or she, whoever's solving this problem, adds 5 here. And this 5 is not like terms with this 20h. It's not like terms because it does not have an h, so we cannot add it to our 22h. So this is the incorrect step right here. So now that we've identified that, let's just quickly give that a description. Let's say cannot add unlike terms. Great, easy explanation. Let's go through and solve this problem quickly ourselves. Rewriting the problem again. Now we're going to distribute the same way they did before. So it's going to be 5 minus 20h. Oh, that is a plus, excuse me, plus 20h plus 2h equals 27. Now I have a 5 plus 22h, combining my like terms, minus 5 on both sides. 22h equals 22. Divide both sides by 22. H equals 1 is my answer. Keep in mind, this answer is the same as this answer over here. Now, that does not mean that our first method was correct. This just happened to be the case, and that is a very important point to understand, is because our H was 1, on both situations, technically both answers are correct, but this work was incorrect. So if you find yourself at a point in a problem where you're doing a similar problem like this, and you are adding these like terms and you still get the same answer, you will lose credit because your work is not done completely and at a high level. So make sure you are paying attention to like terms when you are solving, because even if you look into the answer, we will pay attention and you will not get full credit. So following through, like we did before, we are just going to double check our work. I'm going to plug in all of my 1s into my problem for my h's. So now I have 1 plus 4 times 1 plus 2 times 1 equals 27. And this looks a little sloppy, and that's okay because of all the plus 1s. We just now have a 5, 1 plus 4 plus 2 equals 27 because 4 times 1 is 4 plus 1 right here. And then we have a 2 times 1, which is right here. And now we just start to solve. 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 plus 2 equals 27, minus 2, minus 2. Great, and now we have a 5 times 5 equals 27. I could divide both sides by 5. Oh, it does not equal 27, excuse me, equals 25. 5 times 5 divided by 5 is 5. 25 divided by 5 is 5. This checks out. Great, on to our last problem. So, negative 2 times x and negative 2 times negative 8, and then a plus 4 equals negative 12. Negative 2 times x is going to be my negative 2x. Negative 2 times a negative 8, this should be a positive 16 right here, so that is our first mistake, but this problem is long, so let's keep going. 2x plus 16 plus 4x equals negative 12. This step down here is the exact same, so I'm just going to rewrite my addition right here, negative 2x plus 16 plus 4x equals negative 2. Now, the next step would be either subtracting out this 16 on both sides or combining like terms. Based on this next step, it looks like they combined like terms. Again, this 16 needs to be a positive, and now we have a negative 2x plus 4x. That should be a positive 2x, right? Because we have a larger positive number added to a smaller negative number. But here it is a negative 2, so this is our second mistake. This needs to be a positive number. So this is supposed to be a 2x plus 16 equals negative 12, and then we have to subtract a 16 on both sides, and then we are going to get our answer, which will be completely different than this down here. So let's start going through. Let's identify where our mistakes were. Here we made a mistake with distributing. We also made a mistake with adding a positive to a negative. That is where both of our mistakes were. So let's keep going. Exact same process. Negative 2x minus 8 plus 4x equals negative 12. So let's go through. Negative 2x, negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times negative 8 is a positive 16. Plus 4x equals negative 12. Great. So now, next step, I'm going to subtract 16 on both sides. A little bit out of order, but this is the way that I like to do it. So now I have a 2x plus 4x equals, this cancels out, negative 12 minus 16 is going to be negative 28. Now I can combine these like terms. Negative 2 plus 4 is 2x equals negative 28. X equals negative 14. So one last step. Let's plug in and double check our work. 8, that is going to be x minus 8 plus 4x equals negative 12. So now it's going to become a negative 2, negative 14 minus 8 plus 4, negative 14 equals negative 12. And again, this is where it's very helpful to show all of your work because negative 14 is going to make our answer a little more messy than we've seen before. So let's keep going through. We have a negative 2, and that is going to be times a negative 14 minus 8, which is going to be a negative 22. And then we have a 4 times a negative 14, which is going to be a negative 56. So now that is all going to equal negative 12. So let's keep going through. Negative 2 times negative 22 is going to be 44, minus 56 is going to equal negative 12. 44 minus 56 equals a negative 12 equals negative 12. So this checks out. Great, and there you have it.